given the nature of some of these mandates and how they raise questions about the federal government overstepping its authority, we are also going to need to pursue litigation. And so I'm happy to say today that with thanks to the Attorney General Ashley Moody's leadership, today the state of Florida has filed another lawsuit against the Biden administration. This lawsuit challenges the Biden administration's order imposing a vaccine mandate on federal contractors, which was going to apply on December 8th. And so just because you're a business that has federal contracts, it's not right for the federal government to come in and rewrite those contracts and then try to shoehorn this in. And then if you don't comply, so you either have to fire people, or if you don't comply, they'll just cancel the contract entirely, even though this is something that you bid for and you won fair and square. That's not the way we think business should be done. We don't think that they have the authority to do that. But you are going to see, if we're not successful challenging this, you will absolutely see disruptions in the economy. I mean, just think of all the airline workers that are balking at this. I mean, we've seen different issues in different airlines, and I know that there's very many more. So this lawsuit is filed in the Middle District of Florida, over in the Tampa division, and we are going to seek a preliminary injunction so that this mandate isn't allowed to be imposed at the expense of the jobs of Floridians. And we've got a very big footprint in Florida of companies that do contracting work for the federal government. We've got a lot of them over on the Space Coast of Florida. Of course, we have defense contractors. We have a bunch. And there's a lot of folks that'll be in the crosshairs on this. I think there'll be a lot of folks nationally, but Florida, we've got to be one of the top states in terms of who would be most affected by this. We don't want people to lose their jobs, and we obviously want to keep business going. We want people to be able want the economy to be able to continue function. So we think we know that it exceeds the administration's authority under the current law and Constitution. And I think we're going to be successful in this regard. This is the OSHA rule. That one hasn't even come out. Still, it still hasn't not come out yet after all these weeks. And I wonder whether it's not come out because it's got a lot of problems. I mean, there's not going to be, I think, a very clear path for that to go forward. But this federal contractor lawsuit is not. The contractor rule has not gotten as much play as the OSHA, and these are distinct things. Contractor, I think, has a more limited application in terms of the number of employees it will affect, but I think the bite is probably even more because you're really putting these businesses in an impossible situation where they would potentially lose a lot of their contracts or a lot of their money that is able to sustain them. We are, though, continuing to monitor what is happening with the OSHA rule. We will continue to do that. We're also monitoring what is happening with the CMS rule and how that would affect the healthcare system. I mean, just think about it. We've heard for months and months and months how hard it is to get enough healthcare personnel, how nurses are in short supply. Some of these nurses that are contracted out, they'll travel around the country. Huge money in that. It's very expensive to hire those folks because the demand is so high and the supply is low. And so to impose this mandate on that industry, if you even have a small number who end up, a small number of attrition, that is going to be huge. That is going to be very difficult for a lot of these institutions to be able to function. But again, they're going to be put in a rock and a hard place because they're going to have their funding through most of their patients that they serve potentially limited. We don't think that that's constitutional, but nevertheless, that's the stakes that we're dealing with. So here we are. We said we'd take action, and we are. This lawsuit has been filed. We think that we can hopefully get a preliminary injunction and be able to protect people's jobs from this mandate coming in and kicking a lot of good people out of work. And I want to thank the Attorney General for her work on this. I'm going to have her come up and say a few things, but I will be signing the proclamation for the special session I said it would happen in November. It is going to happen in November. We think this is a relatively simple proposition. You obviously got to do some legislative legwork, but at the end of the day, people should be able to work, and we want to make sure people are able to work and people are able to provide for their families, and so that's what we'll be seeking during that session. So, okay, Attorney General Moody, she's been busy over the last 10 months, and, it's just the way it goes, so come on up.
Thank you, sir. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today for this important announcement. Governor DeSantis and I have been clear. Never did we dream that in this administration we would be having to repeatedly push back on unlawful actions coming out of Washington, incompetent, reckless leadership coming out of Washington. But we're here. And we said when these vaccine mandates were announced that we would take legal action and push back. And I am proud to say today we are fulfilling that promise, and we have filed action in the Middle District of Florida challenging Joe Biden, NASA, OMB, GSA, and Bill Nelson for mandating that anyone with a federal contract require vaccination of all that work for them